Mr. Speaker and members, I rise today not just as a legislator, but as a Texan who still believes in the radical idea that voters should choose their leaders, not the other way around. This bill, House Bill 4, betrays that idea. House Bill 4 is not about representation. It is not about fairness. It is a desperate, mid-decade power grab engineered in Washington, executed in Austin, and paid for by the Texans we are supposed to represent. Let me be clear. This is Donald Trump's map. It is clearly and deliberately manufactures 5 more Republican seats in Congress because Trump himself knows the voters are rejecting his agenda. And instead of respecting that rejection, he's changing the rules. Instead of listening to the people, he's trying to silence them. And Texas Republicans have been more than willing to help. So let's talk about what House Bill 4 really does. It punishes my community of Austin, one of the most diverse, fastest growing and engaged cities in America, by carving it up and pitting 2 progressive champions, Congressman Doggett and Kassar, into the same district. It dilutes the voting power of Black, Latino, and AAPI Texans, communities that have fueled our state's growth and are entitled to a voice in its future. And it draws neighborhoods like mine in North Austin into districts that stretch over 360 miles to Midland and Odessa in one direction, and over 170 miles to Freestone County in the other direction. Chairman Hunter, that's over 500 miles apart. That's not compact, that's corrupt. It is shameful, it is dangerous, and it sets a precedent that should terrify every single American. If you want to know the state of our democracy, look no further than this House floor. Representative Nicole Collier has been held here against her will for 2 full days, over 48 hours, because she refused to sign a permission slip from DPS, treating her like she's a child asking to use the restroom. Representative Collier is a 7-term legislator, an attorney, and an advocate for her community. She's being surveyed and detained in her own capital simply for dissenting. This is not democracy. This is authoritarianism in real time. Republicans are going to try and convince you that this is the will of the people. But if the people agreed with them, why do they need to cheat to win? Why did they try to ram this through without any public testimony on this map? Why did they hold a duly elected representative prisoner? Why did they use flood victims as a political bargaining chip? I'll tell you why. Because they're scared. They're not scared of me. They're not scared of our caucus, but they are scared of the people. They're scared because they know the people are tired of their lies. They're scared because they know the people are rejecting their policies. And they are desperate to pass these maps because it's their last chance to cling to power, and they know if they don't, they will lose in the 2026 midterms. So let me end where I began. I still believe in the Republic. I still believe in this House. I still believe that democracy is worth fighting for. That's why I broke quorum. That's why I stand here today. And that's why I will vote no on this racist bill. Because House Bill 4 is not just about where the lines are drawn. It's about whether the people still hold the pen. And I think they should. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
When Representative Bucy stood on the Texas House floor and called House Bill 4 Donald Trump's map, he wasn't speaking lightly. He was naming something bigger than partisan politics. He was calling out a direct attack on the very principle of democracy, that voters should choose their leaders, not the other way around. Now, here's where it gets deeper. Redistricting has always been political, but what's happening in Texas shows how the game has evolved. It's not just about drawing lines anymore. It's about designing entire districts to guarantee outcomes before a single vote is cast. Think about that for a moment. If politicians can choose their voters, then elections stop being contests of ideas and become exercises in cementing power. Bucy laid out the human cost of this strategy. Austin, a diverse, rapidly growing city with thriving Black, Latino, and AAPI communities, is being carved apart and scattered across vast districts that stretch hundreds of miles. These communities, which should have a unified voice, are being diluted so that their voting power is weakened. And it's not just Austin. Across Texas, minority communities that have fueled the state's growth are being split up, their representation minimized. That's not an accident. It's the design. And this isn't just about maps. Bucy connected the dots to something even more alarming, the way dissent is being handled inside the State House itself. He described colleagues being surveilled, restricted, and even detained for refusing to play along. Think about what that says about the health of democracy. When legislators are treated like children needing permission slips, when they are punished for dissenting, that's not governance, it's control. That's the line where democracy begins to blur into authoritarianism. And why is this happening now? Bucy gave us the answer: fear. This isn't the move of a confident party winning over hearts and minds. It's the move of a political machine afraid of losing relevance, afraid of losing to changing demographics, afraid of the very voters they claim to represent. And fear, when it drives politics, almost always leads to dangerous outcomes. Instead of responding with new ideas, new coalitions, or new leadership, fear pushes leaders toward rigging the rules. But here's the lesson viewers should take away. Gerrymandering isn't just about Texas. It's part of a nationwide struggle over the ground rules of democracy itself. If one side can lock in power through maps, the need to persuade, to compromise, to earn the trust of voters disappears. And when accountability dies, corruption grows. The maps may look like technical documents, but what they represent is who has a voice in the future of this country and who doesn't. That's why Bucy's speech matters. He wasn't just fighting over lines on a map. He was reminding us of something fundamental. Democracy only works when the people hold the pen. The moment politicians steal that pen, the people lose their power. So the question isn't just whether House Bill 4 passes in Texas. The question is whether the country will recognize the pattern before it's too late. Will voters see that democracy is being chipped away, not in one dramatic moment, but through quiet processes like redistricting that seem boring on the surface but are absolutely devastating beneath? This is the deeper truth. Democracy doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes piece by piece, one unfair law here, one silenced voice there, until one day the people wake up and realize they no longer have a choice. That's why Bucy's call to fight for democracy matters now. And here's where you come in. Don't just listen to these speeches and move on. Stay informed, question what's being sold as fair, and share these conversations with others. Because once the people stop paying attention, once the people stop defending democracy, those in power will take advantage. If you care about the future of representation in this country, if you believe voters, not politicians, should decide elections, then don't just watch. Be part of the defense. Speak up, stay engaged, and make sure the pen stays in the people's hands.